What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Teenage Talk YouTube channel. I'm Justin, and today we have episode 5 of Teenage Talk Podcast. And in this episode, Gabe and I talk about high school relationships, and we kind of go in depth about the complexities that kind of go into it. And so if you enjoy the episode, go ahead and go down and drop a subscribe and a like. And while you're there, check the description. In there will be the links to the podcast, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as our socials, so definitely check that out. And we hope you enjoy the episode. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Teenage Talk. I'm your man, Justin Flannery, and I'm also here with my co-host, Gabe Wells, and we got another good episode for you today. Gabe, how are you doing?
I am doing okay. Haven't filmed in a few days, so looking forward to getting, back to it, just talking. And, dude, I'm not talking nearly as much. When we don't film, I literally feel like I don't talk at all.
Yeah, it has been a fat minute, but we're back at it again today, and I think we're getting on a little bit more of a schedule now. We're not just pushing out episodes every day.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's more of like a routine. I know like I've been handling the YouTube and the Instagram, and like I'm finally scheduling stuff out. So I don't have to worry about it every single day. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta post, I gotta do this and that. So it's nice to kind of just be on top of it.
Yes, sir. Well, Gabe, do you want to give the listeners a rundown of our topic today?
Yes, I do. So, first of all, a little backstory for you guys. When you have a podcast like this, it's definitely not the easiest thing in the world to come up with different topics. Okay, and we were trying to think of issues with teenagers or just topics that we could go over that could be relevant to teenagers. And I think definitely what we have today is relevant for a lot of people. Would you say so, Justin?
Yes, sir. I would say so.
So that topic we're going to be talking about, you probably already could tell from the title of this episode, and that is high school relationships. At least for me, I don't think we're going to go so much into our personal stories here as we're going to go our opinions and just like kind of brain dump everything out here. But interesting statistic for you guys here that I found on the internet a few minutes before recording. According to HuffPost, only about 2% of new marriages in North America come from relationships that were started in high school. Now, Justin, what are your first thoughts from hearing that?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me this question, Gabe. I'm not gonna lie to the listeners right now. I was pretty hesitant to record this episode. Gabe can tell you this too.
I said let's jump on it.
Yeah, Gabe was all for it. So we're here. My initial reaction to that, it's a hard statistic to kind of grasp, because if you're thinking about all relationships, that's you're talking about a lot of different circumstances. But it doesn't surprise me that number is quite low, to be quite frank with you. Just from what we've seen personally, it does not surprise me that it's a small percentage of people that end up going all the way.
Okay, now with that being said, why do you think it's such a small percentage of people?
Well, I just think there's a lot of factors that go into it. Obviously, in high school, you only meet a certain amount of people. And For a lot of people, the one is just not there, to be quite honest with you. And it's a small pool of individuals when you really think about it, and you think about the whole entire world and where we're at. You're in the first 18-ish years of your life. You have a lot more ahead of you, and so for a lot of people, they just are waiting to meet that somebody, or B, just haven't found that somebody and are going to find them later.
Okay. I agree with you. I didn't think about it that way. Because if my answer to that question is more so to do with the fact that when you're in high school, I feel like most people, generally speaking, they don't necessarily know what they want, and they're not, fully, I don't want to say, basically, they just don't fully understand what they want. in, somebody that they're going to marry, and they don't fully understand themselves. They may not be as good at like expressing themselves and stuff like that. So I think that that's part of it too. Besides the fact that it's just a small pool of people that you're choosing from.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, that's part of it too. In the first 18 years of your life, I mean, that kind of goes back to it. You've only met certain types of people, especially from your area. Once you go anywhere else in life, I think the people that you meet are different. And then you start to kind of expand that knowledge of kind of who you want in a relationship.
Okay.
At least that's what I would think. But
Yeah, I'm also the type of person though that like I think I personally believe, and whether you agree with me or not, it doesn't really matter. But I'm the type of person that believes that there's somebody out there for everybody, and if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be type of thing. So I mean, if that person is there in high school, then I think that's just kind of a cool story, though. If I'm not mistaken, didn't your parents meet in high school or before that?
yeah, my parents did meet in high school. It's actually it's pretty interesting with them. They went to different high schools. And so, but they're in the same area, but they went to different high schools and met each other at some event thing. But yeah,
That's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool if you meet each other from like different. That's really cool. And
yeah,
I mean,
it's
it
a
worked
crazy
out.
story.
It worked out. My parents met in college. They were both older, but I don't know, Justin. Kind of a deeper question that I have for you right now. If you were talking to somebody that was just going into high school as a senior right now, if you were talking to somebody that was just going into high school, would you tell them that getting into a relationship in high school is a good idea or a bad idea? Let's hear it.
Well, Gabe, I'm just so glad you asked me that question.
I knew you would be. I knew you would be. I knew you would be. Let's hear it. Hey, I'll
um,
answer it too. I'll answer it too.
no, don't worry. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a bad thing at all. I mean, that's just part of the experience as well. And to be fair, if if you go in thinking it's a bad thing, you're gonna take that experience away from yourself. Uh,
Yes.
I mean, I would give it a chance. That's for sure. You definitely, obviously, there's 2% of people that do end up meeting the right person. So completely ignoring that part of high school, that sort of relationship aspect of it, I think personally looking back on it, if I was talking to somebody coming in, I think that's just a horrible idea because you're not even giving yourself that chance of maybe meeting that person. And I think you have to be mature about it too.
There
You
you
got
go.
to know what you're kind of getting into with high school relationships. And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother tangent that we can go down. But if final answer, I would say it's a good thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's bad.
I would agree with you 100%. I think it's definitely a good thing. However, I do think that it's not something that should be like at the top of your list, dude. I know a lot of people that go into it, and that's like the number one thing. That's like, oh my god, when I go to high school, I'm gonna get a girlfriend. Like, dude, you can't plan that stuff out, first of all. And if you are like looking so hard, you're not gonna find it. First of all. Second of all, I don't think like a high school relationship where there's so much stress put on it is going to work out at all. I think it's just going to become ridiculously stressful for the two kids.
Well, yeah, and you have to remember, why you're in high school. You're there because it's school.
Yeah,
So yeah,
of
like
course.
you do have to get your priorities straight. I mean, there's other things that you're going to be doing. Obviously, you're going to have your school and homework, which should be priority number one. Let's be completely honest here. That's
Yeah,
kind of the
yeah.
dealio. But and then there's other things that I think focusing on a relationship in high school is probably the negative part of it because then you're taking away from the other parts that you could have experienced.
Okay.
In my opinion, it's all about balance. And
There you
I
go.
think,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
I think, I think that's the most important thing when you're looking into a high school relationship, because if you were missing out on certain parts of the high school experience because of that relationship, so say something about athletics, clubs, even your academics, like if you're taking away from that part of it, you're doing a disservice to yourself in my opinion,
I
just
think
because that's a huge part of the high school experience.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you on that. And I think that another big issue with high school relationships too is the immaturity that is just the immaturity that's in that relationship. Dude, you see it more and more nowadays. Like, where people are in a relationship and they just get unbelievably jealous when their, boyfriend or girlfriend has a friend of the opposite gender. Like, I think that's something that definitely could take away from your experience too, because that's limiting the amount of people that you could be friends with. And dude, that's just something where if you're taking it that seriously, first of all, that's an issue in and of itself. But also, like, if you're that insecure in yourself in that relationship, I don't think you should be in that relationship. Like, dude, if you can't trust that person, I don't know. That's my personal opinion.
No, you are definitely correct there. And it does come down, obviously, it's natural to kind of feel that, like, initially, like,
Oh
we're
yeah.
not going to pretend that that thought doesn't exist. But you are right, where it comes at the end of the day, it comes down to, you should be able to trust that person. And if you can't, then obviously that's not the right relationship for you.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
just
mean,
the end of the fact at the end of the day right there.
no, that's so true. And I think the other part of that too is like the amount of it goes back to what I was saying earlier, the amount of stress that people put on high school relationships. Like I said, 2% of those relationships work out. Now, don't get me wrong, you could definitely be in that 2%. But like, dude, if it's week 2 of that relationship, you should not be freaking out about everything. And I think, and this is another problem that I think exists with this too, is with the constant access and constant communication via like, just texting, Snapchat, Instagram, all this stuff. Like, I think there's a lot of people too that are like, oh my God, my boyfriend or girlfriend didn't respond in 10 minutes. They must be cheating on me. They don't like me anymore. And then
Yeah,
they
no,
like work
that's just
themselves up over it.
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But like, if you are that insecure in it, I don't think you should be in that relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to tie this back, I think, a lot. It comes down to maturity. And I think both of us can kind of talk about this, where we're both very busy individuals and we have a lot going on in our lives. So if you are that type of person, you need to, if you're going to be in a relationship, be with somebody that can actually respect that and can be, supportive of that, because I think that's important. You shouldn't want to, if you're in a relationship and you don't want to pursue the things that you've been pursuing, I think that's a bad thing. If you're playing a sport and you really want to get better at that sport, you got to do your lifts, you got to do your training, but that relationship's kind of pressuring you not to do that. In my opinion, that's a bad idea, because then you're taking away from the opportunities that come from pursuing that. And I mean, that goes for anything that you can do in high school. If you're constantly being distracted by that relationship, it's game over, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think that personally, I think that, relationships are something that should enrich your life, not take it over. And I think that if it comes to a point to where like you're just living with the other person, you don't have anything on your own, because that's the thing too, is you need things that you can do together for sure, things that you're both interested in. But like, man, you also need some things that you can do by yourself as well. Maybe not by yourself, but like, you know what I mean. But you need like your things too, because dude, if you have like just everything with that person, I I think that's an issue. I think that's setting it up for failure right there. Because, like I said, you shouldn't be limiting yourself in that. It should be something that should enriches your life, but not take it over.
Yeah, and that person that you're with should be part of your life.
Totally,
They should
yeah.
be an important part of your life. They shouldn't be your whole life. Like, you
Oh, I
shouldn't be
totally agree.
devoting all of your resources to this person, because
Oh yeah.
obviously, I mean, it's high school, so like, at the end of the day, it's your own life, so you can decide what to do with it and what not to do with it. But that relationship should just be a part of your life, not, completely obsessing over it. And that, I mean, that alone will help take care of a lot of the drama and issues that come with a high school relationship.
Oh yeah, and I think ideally too, in a perfect situation, like you would have your things that you can do, you would have your priorities in life, and then the person that you're with, well, they're kind of on the same page with it. Like they have their things in life, and they also have the things that you share. And I don't think you guys should be, each other's main priority, because there's definitely other things in life that are important like that. But I think you should just be on the same level with it. And if you're on the same level with it, then that's a great thing. That's a great thing, because and then at that point too, it also gives you guys can also be supportive of each other and whatever you're doing in life, and that's also a big part of it.
Well, yeah, and that comes back to the balance. You mentioned it. You should have things that you should do on your own, and I mean that's part of figuring it out while you're in high school. Like you're not going to go in knowing exactly the person that you want to match up with. That's just not the way it
Oh,
works.
exactly. Yeah.
but
You don't know yourself like that. Yeah.
but yeah, it's finding that balance of things that you like and things that the other person likes, and that's what makes the relationship good, is finding that balance. And I'm going to keep coming to that because I think that's just super important. Obviously the relationship should be an important part. You should treat it as it's important, but it's at the end of the day, it's a part, and it should be balanced in your life. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think, and I mean personally too, aside from just the relationships part, I think this goes with everything. Especially when you're younger, you should definitely have that balanced part of your life. Like you should not have one singular thing that completely takes your life over. Um, that's my personal opinion on it. But Justin, what is the one thing that would just make you think that a certain relationship would be like a terrible, literally just a terrible situation? Like let's say that's a pretty vague question. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I kind of get what you're saying.
Okay, then go ahead.
So what would be the one thing? Well, I don't think there is a single one thing. That's kind of what it comes down to, is there's not one specific thing that would kind of cause the relationship to not be good. I think it's up to the individual and what they value. But in general, I think if you can't have a conversation with the person that you're with, like if you don't genuinely enjoy talking to that person and interacting with that person, I think that's a red flag, just because, that's just a huge part of it, is
Oh yeah.
talking. And if you can't talk to that person, then obviously things aren't going well. That's a big indicator in my end. I think that's what you were asking, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I see that, and I get that. That's a big thing for me too. For me, this is something that I've personally gone through. Like I said, I don't want to put this too much on my personal experiences
let
and their
him hear
personal
it,
experience.
Gabe. Let him hear
I'll,
it.
I'll say it, dude. I'll say it. Um, I'm trying to think of the way that I can make this like as. I'll just say it. One time, this one person was not happy when I was spending time with the boys. Um, you know,
Oh
and
no.
I was like, and it was, our group of friends, because it was like, I don't like, what do you want me to do? It's because she was like, you got to be texting me 24/7. Like, you got to be like, dude, I felt like I was on call with her. I literally did, you know? And I was like, dude, I can't be living my life like this. Like, I have other things. And that was definitely something that I was just, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean,
and that comes back to knowing the person that you're with and
yeah,
how that dynamic. If for us, we have very busy schedules, as I mentioned before. So
yeah.
finding that person that respects that and can be supportive of that, if you're that type of person, is probably the way to go. And like you said, you've experienced the opposite side of the spectrum there. So
Yeah, I mean, that was just, but then again, this is another thing that kind of goes into high school relationships, is like, I've been in different situations, and
it's a
just
nice way to put it.
those. Well, no, I mean, I've dated a few girls and everything like that, and from that, I was able to. The one good thing about high school relationships too is you learn a lot as far as yourself, and you learn a lot as far as what you want in a future partner and things that are important to you and all that stuff. And I mean, on on the surface, that may not seem like it's that big of a deal, but I personally do think that it's a big deal. Like I said, I've dated, I've dated a few girls and everything like that. And while they didn't really, obviously didn't work out, I definitely happy that I went through that because it taught me so much about myself and just about relationships in general and definitely what I want. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to think about too with high school relationships is like the amount that you learn from that too definitely should be something to talk about.
Yeah, so now I kind of want to ask you this question that you asked me
Oh,
at the
here we
beginning of
go.
the episode. So for a high school student coming into high school,
Oh my God. Okay.
for initially,
Okay.
what would you say about high school relationships? Would you say they're good, or would you say they're bad based off of your experience?
I wonder, you see, it's funny. I wonder where you got that question. Where did
Oh,
you?
dude, it
That's
just came
crazy.
right from the brain, man.
That's insane. That's crazy. No, no, dude, I would say they're good. I would say they're good for sure. I think that you shouldn't be getting into something. You shouldn't be getting into something just to get into something. I think you're going to experience a lot of pressure from friends as well. Friends just, and, people. And I mean, I don't know, dude. I see it on social media all the time. Girls are like, I just want a boyfriend. Girls are like, I just want a girlfriend. It's like, dude, if you're just sitting around and you just want it because you want it, like that's not a good thing because then you're gonna jump into something that you shouldn't be in. But I think, hey, if the time's right and if the person's right, then and they're understanding of it and you have your equal space and like all this other stuff, like yeah, then go for it. If the shoe fits, then there you go.
If the shoe fits, I like that. uh, so you kind of touched on something that I thought was interesting. You said these people are looking for it.
Yep.
So talking about relationships here, because I'm just so excited to do this. uh,
No, okay, pause. This guy's seriously, you don't understand. Before we press the record button on here, I was literally telling Justin, like, seriously, let's just talk about this. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like this.
no, I'm not saying it's a big deal. It's just
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
it's
funny.
just funny. It's just funny, dude.
So any whoosies. So you said people are looking for a relationship. You see
Yes.
these people that are looking for a relationship. So
Yes.
I think it's important when talking about high school relationships and romance, uh,
Ooh,
to
ooh.
I know fancy words, to talk about kind of how it should happen. Now I'm not an expert because obviously I'm just a kid. So I'm gonna say though, if you're looking for a relationship, chances are what you're looking for, and if you find something, it might not work if you're like desperately
Ding
searching
ding
for it.
ding. Ding ding ding. There you
In
go.
my opinion, yeah, I'm the winner here. In my opinion, the way it should happen naturally. I think the
Yup.
best relationships that I've seen from others and in my own personal experience, they happen naturally. So finding that person that over time you start to realize you're like, hey, I kind of like this person.
Yeah.
I think those end up working out the best. Uh, I think I can say that in my own personal experience. Uh, those
Me
end up
too.
working out the best.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to realize is if you're looking for it, chances are you're looking for the wrong things, and you'll know when it's right. Like you'll know,
Oh
and
yeah.
and that's just. I mean, I think that's probably the feeling that a lot of people are chasing is that feeling of knowing that it's right, but you can't be chasing that feeling. It's one of those complicated things where you just kind of have to
Yeah.
let it happen and you
I'll
know
say
go ahead.
I'll say, well, I agree with you. I'll say this much though, dude. The ones that when it happens like on accident, especially when you're not looking for it, that's the best. Like from my personal experience, that's what I definitely would say about it. Is like, because I've been on the other side of it where it's like, man, all my friends got a girlfriend. I've been, third wheeling. Like, dude, I definitely would like a girlfriend right now. And then, you jump into something, doesn't work out, you get yourself in a bad situation, and it's like, I don't, it's like
Your
then
cheeks
after that,
are getting a little red there, Gabe.
like, no, dude, no. I'm just saying, dude, the stuff that happens on accident, the totally unexpected stuff, that's always the best. Um, I will say this though, transitioning a little bit because I think we both agree on that. Um, if you're the type of person to handle a breakup in high school ridiculously immaturely, maybe you should step back and do some self-evaluation before you get into something. I think if you're in high school, you know, actually, I think this goes for any age. If you're gonna handle a breakup like ridiculously immaturely, then I don't think you're ready for it. You know?
Well, yeah, and that seems pretty obvious to me, in my opinion.
You would be surprised how unobvious that
No,
is.
no, I'm not surprised at all how unobvious it is. I mean, there's a lot of different types of people out there. So, but that comes back to, you know, being mature about it and knowing what you're getting into. If
Yeah,
you're super uh, upset, or if you don't handle the breakup well, I
yeah,
mean, obviously it's not going to feel great, and everybody experiences different emotions.
yeah.
But if you're going to act crazy about it, if you're a crazy person,
Crazy.
and if you're not sure who I'm talking about, I might be talking to you. If you're a crazy, if you're a
Justin's
crazy
throwing
person,
it down. Wow. Okay. Wow.
if you're
No.
if you're a crazy person, I mean, that's just something you gotta, like Gabe said, figure out about yourself. And I'm gonna, save myself here. I'm not gonna say that all people are crazy, and it happens different for everybody, the breakup. But if you make a huge spiel out of it, I don't think you were handling what was happening in the relationship itself very well.
Yes. I'm gonna.
Because
Yeah. Okay.
if you're gonna if you're gonna break up with somebody, it should be like kind of a gradual decline of interest to get there. It
Okay.
shouldn't be just an explosion at the end. That's just
I
my own opinion.
I agree. Okay. So I agree with you, but Justin, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what you just said. Granted, there are different situations though for breakups, and like don't get me wrong, there's definitely
There's
different
some
things where it
crazies,
could be.
man. There's some
No, but I mean,
crazies.
well, yeah, but there also, like you said, the gradual thing. There's also different type of situations where it's immediate, and if it's immediate in that situation, like I get why all those emotions would be coming up at once, but I don't know. I really just think it's just going into it not having the expectations of the entire world, and then just I think we're on the same page there. But I will say this though. I think this is something I've seen more and more lately. Personal relationships, drama between friends, drama between, relationships like this that we're talking about or anything else, that needs to stay your own business. Don't put it on social media. If you like, just nothing else needs to be said. Nothing else needs to be said other than that. I don't I don't even know where else I could go with that because that's it.
So everybody pull out your notebooks and
Write it down.
go
Write it
ahead and
down.
write that down. Gabe says, quote, keep it your own business. So I kind of want to go back to what you were saying earlier about the immediate
You agree with
breakup.
that though, right?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, that goes for a lot of things. I think if you're in a relationship, a lot of the stuff that goes on in your relationship should be between
Yes.
whoever you're in a relationship with and yourself. That's just kind of the way it works. There are things that are like that. So I do agree with you there. I do want to circle back.
Okay.
You talked about the immediate breakup thing, and something came to mind that I want to talk about is this concept of honesty. Ooh, honesty.
Oh no, the dreaded word.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, being honest to your romantic partner. So I think this is a maturity thing again, because in a relationship, I think that if you're not honest with the person that you're in a relationship with, you're setting yourself up for this, crazy breakup and fireworks at the end, because it's just you're leading somebody on. That's just, in my opinion, the way it works. If you're feeding whoever you're in a relationship with lies, they're going to be they're not going to be on the same page as you, and that just creates all sorts of problems. So with that being said, if you are in a relationship and you're kind of like, man, this ain't it, chief, like I'm just not feeling it, which happens. Like
Yeah.
Gabe mentioned, 2% of high school relationships go all the way to
Yeah.
marriage. So it is very common for relationships in high school not to work out. So if you're talking to yourself and you're like, man, this isn't working out, you got to talk to the other person. Like you can't just keep going down this hole and keep digging and digging until it's way too late. Then you don't know what to do, and then this whole bad thing happens. That you're just setting yourself up for failure. And so that comes back to being honest with your partner. And so I think that's just a big thing when you're kind of talking about immediate breakups.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I was specifically talking about cheating. I think if you get cheated on, I wasn't trying to say it, but I don't think there's any other way to say it. If you get cheated on, I get it. Like, like you're,
Honesty, man.
oh
Honesty.
yeah, no, it's literally. But I mean, that's like if you get, dude, if you get cheated on, you're gonna be ridiculously upset, and all those emotions are gonna come up at once. And I think there's certain things that like you need to keep it cool with, but if you're going off, you're going off, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that comes down to who you're with too. If you, I mean, I don't know how exactly to explain this, but if that happens, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are very sorry. Our heart over at the Teenage Talk podcast crew over here, it goes out to you.
Yeah,
We're sorry.
we're feeling for you. But if you find yourself in that position, I think at the beginning of the relationship, you have to evaluate the person that you're with. Sometimes people put themselves in that position to begin with, in my opinion. Like they get with the wrong person.
Yeah.
And they kind of know that this is a possibility, but they do it anyways. And then they act surprised when it happens. So if you're thinking about getting a relationship, I think that's something to think about is, am I genuinely interested in this person, or are there other reasons that I'm getting into this relationship? And that varies from person to person. But that's the biggest thing for me
I'm with you there,
about
dude.
high school relationships is being very careful at the beginning and making sure that you're in it for the right reasons. Because if you're not in it for the right reasons, you're setting yourself up for that kind of heartbreak.
And you mentioned being careful. This is what I'm saying, dude. If it's one of those things where literally it happens on accident and you're just like, the moment that you realize those feelings are like really there and you're like, oh God, oh my God, I think I like this person. I don't want to be in a relationship right now, but I think I like this person. Okay, I really like this person. Like, I think at that point, you're already like taking it slowly. And I think that those are literally the best ones, I think. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, and that genuinely happens with the right people as well.
Yeah,
And
totally.
being able to feel that and know is important. And I'm not going to say that happens for all relationships. I mean, it's different for everybody, but I think that being honest with yourself is probably the most important part before you get into a relationship, is making sure that you actually feel what you think you're feeling, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And I mean, I I don't know, from personal experience, I think that just the things where it's like, I don't know even how to say this word, but it's just like, you know, this is happening. I'm trying to personally, I'm trying to like avoid it. I'm literally trying to avoid it, but I just can't fight those feelings. Like no matter what the situation is, no matter how crazy it is, those things end up being the best. those things.
So for those of you who are just listening, Gabe's cheeks are getting red.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Just go to the YouTube channel and check this out real quick,
dude,
if you
I
want.
am good right now, man. I'm good. I'm just saying those things. It's the accidental things, man. They turn into the best ones. I think that the unplanned, spontaneous, just like, oh crap, I really like you. That's it, man. I think that's you can't go out looking for it. It's like looking at what's that thing that those people say? Looking at a pot, it's never gonna boil. You know that analogy?
I've never heard that analogy.
Okay, people, I'm sure I'm sure people out there have said that. It's like, dude, when you put water in a pot and it's trying to like you're trying to get the water to boil, if you look at that water, dude, it's gonna take forever before it starts to boil. But if you go away, come back to it, it's gonna be boiling.
Oh, I see what you're saying. See,
Yeah.
you said at first, if you look at a pot it's not going to boil. And I got confused because there was
Okay.
nothing in the pot at
Okay.
first. So the
I
pot
shouldn't
was
have
going
to-
to boil.
I shouldn't have to spell it out for you, dude.
You do need to spell it out for me, man.
Letter by letter, just I don't
Put it on
dude,
a
I don't
spoon and
I
let
don't-
me have it.
you see that's the thing for me. Kind of like I'm really going off here, but that's the thing is like, dude, when I was younger and I was making like mac and cheese and stuff, I would literally, dude, I would be staring at it. I would be like, oh my god, when is this thing gonna like? Did I do something? All I'm doing to picture this, all I'm doing is putting water in a pot, put it on the stove, and I'm sitting there. It's been like 10 minutes. I'm like, why is this thing not boiling? I'm thinking I'm doing something wrong.
This is how I feel when I'm like in class, especially in this online experience. An hour of doing something that's not productive goes by way too fast. But an hour of sitting in class, especially when you're staring at a computer screen, ooh-wee, it is not good.
Yeah, which is weird because like a minute is always going to be 60 seconds, but it's always going to go by at different speeds though. Always.
So
Like,
if any of you guys are taking notes still, a minute will always be 60 seconds.
Period. Right there. Just that's it. Minute's always going to be 60 seconds. Hey, and that, believe it or not, that's in every parts of the world. We may have different currencies.
Oh, that's international right there.
Yeah, we may be in different
time
zones. We may be in different time zones, but guess what? A minute is still going to be 60 seconds.
And so, that applies to relationships too, No.
1 month will always be 1 month.
But okay, I am going to try and tie it back though.
There's no way you could tie that back. I really
Watch me.
I'm interested to hear. Go ahead, man.
So if you're in a relationship and you're, going through it and it's going good over time, the ones that, you're a couple months in, you're like, wow, it's already been like several months. That's crazy. Those are probably the good relationships. The ones where you're like, man, it's only been 3 months. I felt like I've been dating this person forever. Something might be wrong. So,
well, first of all, props to you for tying it back. That was very impressive. I didn't think you were going to do it.
Yeah, see, Gabe was doubting me out here, but yeah, if you're still listening this far into the episode, round of applause right now. I mean, let's just
round of it, honestly.
Pat myself on the back right there. What an analogy.
This is what Justin's right there. Dude, trying to like leave my personal experiences out of this. Oh my god, this is so difficult.
This is the hardest part of the episode for Gabe, is to try and speak generally about high school relationships.
No, seriously, this is what I was telling Justin about before the episode. I was like, man, because I mean, as a friend, like, you know this about me. Like, dude, I got stories. I've been through things. Like, I am just gonna say that we should end the episode here.
So you heard it from Gabe first, folks. This is the end of the episode. So this is the best ending I think we've ever had. So to kind of recap the episode, the best relationships that you're gonna find in high school are the ones that happen naturally, not the ones that people are searching for, or the ones that are made out of desperation. The ones that occur naturally, I think, we came to the conclusion that are probably the best. And then the other major thing that we talked about is honesty. Yes, honesty. And not only with the other person that you're in a relationship with, honesty with yourself as well is important.
Bingo. There we go.
Yeah.
Nice
we're
job.
Deep right at the end of the episode.
Nice job.
Honesty with yourself, especially before you get in a relationship. I think that's the important part, is being honest about what you want and why you're getting in a relationship. And yeah, I think that about covers it. You have anything else to add, Gabe?
Dude, I was saying we should have closed this out 2 minutes ago. So
if you are still listening to this episode,
still here,
you are a committed fan, and we applaud you. And yeah, so this has been another episode of Teenage Talk. As always, we love having these conversations, and we appreciate all the support, and we look forward to talking to you again. Bye-bye.